Hi there. Um, when my husband and I were sitting at his chemo treatment yesterday, we were having a little chit chat about my journey to trying to find different ways of making some income. And he actually suggested, because I love helping people, I've been in the helping profession for pretty much all my life in some sort of aspect of it. And he says, you're going through a lot with me going along in his journey through cancer treatments. And he says, why don't you just talk about that? Because maybe it'll help you and maybe it'll help other people to give, I don't know. I don't know if it's even advice, I would call it, but just maybe some challenges that I've been through or things that we've been able to work through or things we've come up with that have helped him. So, a little background. My husband was diagnosed in the January of 2022 with esophageal cancer, and it was stage 4. So it had spread into his liver and some lymph nodes. I'm not going to get into all the medical terms of everything because one thing I can't remember. But it wasn't good news. He was given a very kind of short life expectancy, but he started radiation and then started on chemo treatment. And believe it or not, he was actually able to almost become cancer free for about a year and a half. He was on immunotherapy, which we think did a big helping thing for it. The oncologist couldn't believe that I actually went into remission because it wasn't normal for people with esophageal cancer to go into remission. But we also did a couple other things along with that. We used a mat. It's called a PEMF mat, and I'm not here to sell anything. If you want information, I'll be more than happy to supply it. If I can put a link in this video down below, I will. But it's pulsating electromagnetic frequency, not force, frequency. And he lays on that. I've been on it as well. It's supposed to help your cells to regenerate. So it's good for broken bones, anything hurt in your body. And so we purchased this. It was very expensive. But this is one of the things that he started doing, because when you are first diagnosed with cancer, you just want to do everything. But we didn't want to interfere with traditional chemotherapy and radiation. So that was one of the things that he tried. Along with chemotherapy comes really bad side effects. Anybody who's been through cancer understands that. So eating was a challenge. For one thing, where his cancer was in his lower esophagus, food was starting to get stuck. So after the radiation, it was very painful to get food down. So that was one of the challenges. So trying to get food in him to heal was one of the big challenges as a wife, to try and help your husband recover. One of the other things that changed with him was the texture of food and the flavor of food. One day, I went to the grocery store 3 times trying to find something that he would eat, something that he could tolerate. He wasn't really nauseous a lot, but he was on medication for that. But it was so challenging, especially and then seeing his weight drop. We just didn't want that to happen. So one of the things that I purchased was Mutant Mass. I do have the link for that because I bought it off of Amazon, and it's a weight gainer. So it's like 1,500 to 2,000 calories for a shake. And even today, he still has that because it's one little thing I can add. And I add some spinach to it in yogurt, sometimes peanut butter. But what you find is that his taste change daily. And the cells in your mouth, because of the chemo, are being affected. And it's just not fun for him. And I totally get it. I don't, but I try. And so when making these shakes, putting them on more liquid was definitely helpful. other challenges was the mood swings that he would get because you put him on a steroid, and then so he'd be like flying and get grumpy really quick and very short, no filter. And I mean, he swears like a trucker. Anyways, he's not a trucker. Um, but his filter was gone. And so he's like, I can't be around certain people. He says, because I'm not going to be able to hold it back. And I don't know whether that's the frustration of everything coming out. But usually after a few days, it wore off. He was getting the type of treatment that after the 3 or 4 hour treatment in the cancer clinic, then he would be sent home with a bottle for 48 hours that was hooked up to his port. I learned how to unhook the bottle. Wasn't a big deal. But, you're walking around hooked up to this bottle. It's hard to shower. So I get it. He's grumpy. But emotions like this. And as a caregiver, you're trying to navigate the emotions going like this, not take anything personal, trying to help, but you don't want to smother them as well. I don't know if anybody else has been through this type of thing, and I'm quite sure there's been millions, but I don't know if anyone's ever posted a video. It's like you don't want to say anything because you don't want to be that awful wife. But it is challenging. And if I can try and help others through going through being the caregiver of people with cancer, your spouse, your child, your parent, when you're around them 24/7, it can get a little exhausting. I work in a very high stress job on top of it all. Hence why my other videos on this channel are about me trying to find a side hustle, because I'm not going to be able to handle doing everything for very long. As I had said earlier, his life expectancy, we were told in the beginning when I was like hyperventilating and everything, when the doctor told us this, was 9 to 12 months. And I just was like, what? We were actually getting married that year, which we did get married that year. We just had to wait a little longer, and COVID and everything else was that year because it was 2022. So, but we had a beautiful wedding. He didn't feel great, but he didn't feel too bad. At that time, most of the friends at the wedding, they all knew what he was going through. But even now, he hasn't told absolutely everybody. I think most of our close friends and family, they all know. But there might be, people who are friends that may have not heard, because he doesn't talk about it. He doesn't post anything on Facebook. I had his permission to do this video because it was his suggestion. And so, not being that cancer person, because he didn't want people to all of a sudden come out of the woodwork. Hey, buddy, let's go for lunch. Let's go for coffee. Oh, yeah, now you want to talk to me because I have cancer and I'm dying. That's not what he wanted. And I just kind of wanted to do everything and anything to make his life a little bit better. He did have to stop working after the cancer came back. Like I said, it was gone for about 1.5 years, and it came back. And now just recently, the treatment that he was on before wasn't working. That wasn't good news that we had about 2 months ago now. So they're trying him on a new protocol of different chemo. Yesterday, we were there for 6 hours because he had an allergic reaction. He broke out in hives, and they had to slow it down. Give him Benadryl, give him more steroids, give him Tylenol, all these other things. So sitting in the hospital for 6 hours, scrolling on my phone, pretty much wore my battery out. It's just part of the process. It's part of what we go through. And I was lucky. I was off work yesterday. I'm actually off work today. So we went out and did some grocery shopping. One of the other things that is really hard for him is all the little side effects, either of the chemo coming out or going in, or just of his body. He hates his feet right now. And his feet look so sore. So you get neuropathy And so his fingers are numb, his toes are numb. He can't feel, it's either like nerve pain or he can't feel something. So he drops things all the time. You know, he dropped stuff before too, but now he drops it even more. But his feet get, oh my gosh, they get like bright red in the middle of the toes. Something that I tried, I had this bee venom cream that was supposed to be for skin tags or skin normalities or whatever. Didn't work for that. But he put it on his toes. I said, let's just try this and see if it'll help. And believe it or not, it kind of calmed it down a little bit. So his feet would get bright red and itchy and painful. So he doesn't walk for very long. He did buy himself a little scooter so he could go and scoot around when our grandson was on his bicycle. And that's been super helpful for him. Heat really affects him. With the old chemo, it was cold, like he couldn't have anything cold. Now it's if he's on his feet too long or he's in the sun too long. I mean, everyone's like, he sits in the shade and he tans. And here we are in Mexico last year, and I'm like, okay, dude, like I'm sitting here sun tanning and you're just sitting out there in your long sleeve shirt and you're getting a tan without even being in the sun. Side effect, yay. I mean, not a horrible one. He doesn't look all jaundiced. He just kind of looks tanned. But you know, it sometimes you just have to laugh at the stupid little things. Um, Worries that come is I don't like to talk about the end game. Don't even want to go there. We've had to have conversations. He wanted to talk about what happens in the end. Like, do you want me to make arrangements so you don't have to deal with them? Which I thought, this is awful. I don't want to talk about this. But it was something we had to talk about. So we did. We talked about, you know, I know he wants to be cremated. And so we talked about getting one of the little plot things so the kids have some place to go and visit. And it's just one of those things that people don't talk about when they're with somebody who's going through cancer. He seems to have accepted, he's still fighting, but he's accepted that he's not going to be here for a long time. I'm not ready to accept that. So I just ignore it because that's how I deal with things, which isn't always the best because sometimes he wants to talk about things and I'm just like, not going there today. But we do, and it's hard. And I know many of you who are possibly watching this video going, yep, I've been there. Those are really tough discussions to have, but you have to have them. And I know he just wants to look out for me. I know he wants what's best for me. He wants to make sure I'm looked after. And I love him for it. I love him for many, many reasons, but it sucks. I'm just going to say straight out, it sucks. Because we haven't been together long enough for me to lose him so soon. It took me previous marriage to find him finally later in life. And then now this frickin' happens. So there's anger there, right? Like, you always think there's horrible people in the world. Not that I want cancer or anybody to get cancer, but there's some that probably, you know, deserve it because they do really shitty stuff. And then you have somebody who's, yeah, we've all done shitty things in our life, but he's a good person. I mean, when you're teenagers, you do stupid things. When you're in your 20s, you do stupid things. You know, it's like, oh, is this what you're getting for it? You know, he's just like, oh, this, you know, maybe this is karma or whatever, because he used to drink and smoke. And I'm just like, no, it's not. Because he's too good of a person. He loves his kids. He adores and loves his grandkids. He adores and loves me, and his family and friends are so important. But cancer, it hits people, and it hits when you're not expecting it. Totally not what we thought was going to happen, and it sucks. I'm not sure where this video was going to go. Maybe it was just me rambling on about this, but I'll probably make another video as things come to me. If you've watched this video, if you have any questions, if you want to chat, you know, type me a message in the comments. I'd be more than happy to chat back in the comments. If there's something that, I know there's a million things that people try. He's willing to try some things, and some he's just like, yeah, no, we're not going there. But for the most part, he will try things. Oh, this other thing I wanted to actually mention was Essiac. It's a liquid, disgusting tasting that he was on the first time around. And then we started again. I actually forgot that he was even on it. And it was developed by a nurse, has indigenous herbs and stuff mixed in it. And I'm not going to say that it cures or whatever, but he feels it definitely makes him feel better and be able to handle things better. So I'll put the link. I also buy that on Amazon. I'll put the link for that stuff because it does help a little bit with the side effects. And he thinks it might help with the food texture and taste, because although food doesn't taste great, he never really craves anything. At least he can eat and go, okay, it wasn't the best, but at least it was food and it kind of tasted the way it was supposed to. It's just part of the struggles. But it's just another little thing that was kind of helpful in the process for him. And if I make another video, if I come up with some ideas, or if I just want to talk about what I'm going through as a caregiver, sometimes it gets exhausting. Sometimes it's, him snapping. I know it's not really at me, but I feel bad if I get mad, because I'm just like, well, he's dying right now. I'm not. I can't get mad because life sucks. But he's trying not to make life suck. He's very positive. When we're in chemo, he has the nurses laughing because he's a pretty funny guy, or he thinks so, dad jokes. And he's doing probably better than a lot of people. When you look at him, you wouldn't think he had cancer. His hair thinned, and it didn't fall out completely, but it is thinned. And he looks well. He doesn't look puffed up. And so if people just met him on the street, they wouldn't know what he was battling. And it must be just one of those, silent killer things. But maybe he just hasn't gotten to that point yet. I don't know what I'm going to do when he actually starts looking really sick. I know sometimes I get frustrated because I feel I'm doing everything because he's too tired or just doesn't feel like it. His motivation is pretty much gone. We ride motorcycles normally, and we have ridden very little in the past few years. We usually go on one big trip a year, and we haven't done that. I don't think he could be on the bike for more than a few hours, and I don't want to ride my bike without him. So we'll ride it to work or Little John's, but definitely wouldn't go on a trip without him. So having that and losing that, it's how we met. It's one of the reasons why we met, was because of our passion for riding. We met through the riding school that we both went to. And so to see that passion that we both shared, just kind of sitting in our garage staring at us going, why aren't you riding us? It's kind of sad. But I worry about him with his weakness, because he's lost muscle mass and things are a struggle since he had pneumonia in, I think, July of this year. And he got a cold. We both got this really bad cold, and he just wasn't going away. And I'm just like, babe, like, this is not good. And he was very stubborn. He didn't want to just go to the hospital and then just say, you have a cold, go home, which I knew they wouldn't say. But one night, oh my gosh, his color was so bad. And I said, well, you have two choices. You're going tonight or going tomorrow morning. So we went, and he actually had aspirated pneumonia. So something had gotten in his lungs. But he was coughing so bad and having these like fits of coughing where he would just cough out and couldn't breathe in. And it scared the crap out of me. But a couple days in the hospital with IV antibiotics and whatnot, the nurses were just like, wow, you were not the same person that you were when you came in. And so he managed to get through that, but I can tell his breathing's not, like, he goes up a flight of steps and he's exhausted. He's just like, I'm really out of shape now. And it's like, well, it's probably the pneumonia. And it's all these little things, I don't want to get sick. I don't want to be around people who are sick, because if I get sick and then I get him sick, and he just can't handle that. And anybody with cancer, that you can't afford to be getting sick. So it's just one of the many things that you have to be really cautious of. Washing your hands, using the hand sanitizer. That was one good thing about COVID. People realized how often they should actually wash their hands and use hand sanitizer when you've gone out grocery shopping or you've gone out, touching anything. It's come home, don't touch your face, wash your hands. And when you're around somebody with cancer, you have to be very, very careful with that. Anyways, I think I'm going to end this video. I hope that maybe some of this discussion, not a discussion because it was only me talking. Anyways, I hope it helps somebody. You're not alone. Being a caregiver of somebody battling cancer, it's a tough job, but I'd rather him here and me have some shitty days than him not here, because those are going to be shitty days and I'm not looking forward to them. And before I start crying, I'm going to sign off. I hope this helps you. If, like I said, if you have any comments, please comment below, subscribe. I have other things on this channel, but this one, it's pretty personal, and I just hope maybe I can help somebody else out.